Hey guys, my name is Mio, and welcome to episode of Monday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I'll give my humble opinion on them. To get the format out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Jeffrey, and it is, what is your take on the Ella nerf? So yeah, it looks like they're nerfing Ella again. Now, a part of me is glad to hear this because I feel like Ella got a little bit too strong after the most recent update, but also I can completely understand why people are disappointed with this announcement. The justification that Ubisoft gave for why they've done this is that they felt like they went a bit too far with the most recent buff. They were trying to improve her win rate and her pick rate slightly, but apparently it skyrocketed through the roof. Now, part of me is thinking, obviously this happened. You literally stated in your patch notes they were trying to bring her back to her former glory. Unless you just completely forgot how overpowered she was, of course this is going to be an issue. And so what they've stated is that they're toning her down slightly. From the patch notes, it seems like it's not going to be back to what it was a couple of months ago. It's still going to be slightly better than that, but it's trying to find a middle ground between the most recent buff and what it was. The thing is, though, and I realize that I don't play Ella all that often, and so maybe I'm not the best judge here, but her recoil is pretty significant now. I think what it really comes down to is that for some reason her weapon, and I don't know if this is just exclusive to her, but it has a substantial amount of randomness. As you guys can see here, I didn't compensate for the recoil whatsoever, and the first one basically just kind of went straight up and down, but the second one on the left there, you can see that it kind of veers off significantly up to the left. That randomness is completely impossible for you to predict, and so sometimes you'll be able to have pinpoint-like precision, and other times you have absolutely no idea where this thing is going to recoil, which makes it impossible to be able to have that reliable and consistent gameplay that you would want when you're playing as an operator. Now, some people have suggested, well, maybe they should just reduce the amount of rounds that she has at her disposal, bring it down to like 30 in the mag instead of 40, or reduce her rate of fire. RPM is king in Rainbow Six Siege. Clearly, that's causing some problems, and so it doesn't matter what you do to the recoil, there's always going to be that issue in the background, and so maybe that's what they need to address. The thing is, though, is that Ubisoft has made it very clear that they want to keep that uniqueness that surrounds Ella, and they don't want to make it like every other weapon in the game. For some reason, Ubisoft really likes Zofia and Ella with their uniqueness. That's why they have like those weird passive abilities, and they want that to stay, or at least that's what they've indicated. And so I have no idea how they're going to be changing Ella in the future. On the one hand, I want her to be competitive. I want her to be a viable option, but clearly Ubisoft is having a hard time finding that sweet spot. The hope that I have is that they try to approach this from a different angle, make her weapon consistent and reliable, try to maybe get rid of some of that randomness, but make some other aspects about her a little less frustrating, but we are gonna have to wait and see what they come up with. The next question comes from Travis, and it is, what do you think about a new offensive operator where his abilities would be some sort of super fire extinguisher to counter Goyo shields and create a smoke screen at the same time? He would also be resistant to Smoke's gas and Tachanka's future rework. This is actually something that I immediately thought of when they first announced the Tachanka rework. I love the fact that he's getting this incendiary nade launcher. He can place his gadget or launch this in a location. It's going to cause this fire effect, and it's going to act as aerial denial, kind of like a substitute to smoke, which I love. I think that's going to be a great addition and hopefully finally make him a viable choice. Now, the worry that I have, and maybe this isn't justified, is what is going to happen when you start using him in tandem with these other operators. Imagine going against a Goyo, Smoke, and Tachanka all locking down one section of the map. And on some maps, like Bank in particular, if you're going through servers in the basements, it's going to be nearly impossible to get anywhere near the objective or be able to plant said objective. You have the Goyo activate his shield, then directly after that, you start having Smoke using his gadget. And then once those 30 seconds have gone by, you have Tachanka launching his in and denying that area as well. And so as long as defense has done a halfway decent job of slowing down the progress of offense, that last minute, it's basically GG. Of course, they can try to adapt and hit it from a different section of the map, but hopefully you kind of understand where I'm coming from. from. And so that's where your operator idea comes into play. Someone who is meant to directly counter these kinds of situations. Isn't affected by gas from smoke, so he can just easily plans. If they do have Tachanka, he can just create this smoke screen by just taking out the fire itself or causing a mist effect, using that to his advantage. That could be a really interesting new dynamic. The thing is, though, and the one problem that I have with it, it's kind of a big one, is that this is very specialized. I like when operators are introduced that have counters. That's a good thing. We don't want to have another Maverick on our hands. But at the same time, if the defensive team didn't bring a smoke or Tachanka, you're basically providing no benefit whatsoever. Having an operator that is solely designed about countering other characters in the game just feels way too selective. And so I feel like if they wanted to do something like this, because I love the idea, I think this is a really cool concept, I feel like they would need to have some other gadget or benefit that they could provide to the offensive team. I'm not entirely sure what that would be, but I think he just needs to bring something more. All in all, though, I really like this idea. Admittedly, we are jumping to conclusions here. We don't even know if smoke alongside Tachanka is going to be all that viable, but I just love the idea of having some sort of operator that can neutralize that fire effect and then cause a smoke screen that you can then take advantage of. I think that's really interesting. The next question is, do you think that Yana should be able to shoot with her hologram? This is something a lot of people have brought up to try to make her hologram even more convincing, but I really don't think that it's necessary. I truly do believe that Yana is going to be one of the strongest operators that they've introduced in quite a while, not only because of her ability to just simply gather information and relay that to your team, but also to be able to bamboozle the enemy. If you're in her Gemini replicator and you quickly peek a doorway, and as soon as you see someone, you duck behind cover, that player is automatically going to assume that that is the real Yana. Why would the clone be scared? Why wouldn't they re-peek? If it's a clone, you would automatically assume that they would be much more aggressive. And so as soon as they go to the right, assuming that that is the real Yana, you come in from the left, you're gonna catch them by surprise. On top of that, if you were able to shoot with this gadget, not only do I think that it'd be way too convincing, there needs to be some disconnect between her gadget and herself, but also this would trivialize callouts and just make it way too easy to relay information to your team. You rush on in with the Gemini replicator, you shoot in the general area of where that player is, your teammate that follows in directly after you is going to see those vapor trails basically being like, hey, this is the defender right here, and then they get that free, easy information. What I like about Yana is that it requires teamwork, it requires coordination. This is going to be an operator that you need to use a microphone with, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think that's necessarily something that they should take away just to make things a bit easier. And then finally, if you did have that ability, you'd be able to lock down players that you normally shouldn't be able to. If they peek and then all of a sudden they get shots flying their way from this Gemini replicator, they obviously think that they're gonna get taken out, so they duck behind cover. That then allows the Yana or their teammates to come in from a different angle and take advantage of that situation. That just seems a bit too strong. In general, though, it's for those very reasons why I just don't think that this needs to happen. Once again, I know a lot of people like this idea. I've been getting many of these kinds of suggestions, but I feel like this might be pushing things a bit too far, and honestly, just really isn't all that necessary. The next question comes from Henry, and it is, do you think that the map ban that is coming to Ranked is a good addition to Siege? Are you concerned that certain maps won't ever be played? Absolutely. This is something that we've talked about in previous Sunday mailboxes, but one concern that many people have is that already there isn't a lot of variety in the maps that we have in Ranked. They've reduced it significantly over the years, but as soon as you introduce this, that's going to effectively reduce that even further. You're going to have maps that no one wants to play on, and it's going to whittle it down more and more. All that being said, though, especially for players who do want more of that competitive gameplay, this is going to be incredible. I, in particular, don't enjoy playing on Outback all that much because it's just entirely defensive favored. It is really frustrating to get any progress on offense. Chalet really isn't all that balanced currently. And so giving the players the tools to be able to remove those frustrations, I think is a good thing. Letting the player base kind of vote off of what they want to play, I think could be a great direction for Siege. In general, though, this is going to have to be a wait and see. Who knows? Maybe it's not going to be as bad as people are making it out to be. And this also could be a great way for Ubisoft to know which maps people enjoy and then make changes accordingly. If they realize, okay, this map is constantly getting sidelined, maybe we need to go on in and make some changes. That could be a good thing in the long run. But yeah, guys, that is it for today's episode of Monday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. What are your thoughts on the recent nerf to Ella? How do you think that Ubisoft should go about adjusting her? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.